How is filmmaking better today than it was 20 or 30 years ago?
Oh, wow. Well, the thing is, we don't need lights anymore. Like 20 years ago, we had to have all these lights, and now we can shoot with practically no lights at all, which I think is amazing. And I think that the fact that everything is in digital now, we've moved from film. We're no longer doing these, internegatives and transferring film to digital and stuff like that. And I think that digital has come up with a very, very high quality that finally begins to match the film quality. And I think there are better tools out there. There's a lot better tools out there. Like for instance, like just for green screens alone, like for instance, Laurel Canyon Stages has a really nice green screen out there, but you control it from your phone, and it can be any color you want. Do you want it to be green? It's green. Do you want it to be red? It's red. Do you want it to be blue? And you can literally dial it in, and you couldn't do that 20 years ago. You want a green screen? Okay, we'll bring in this girl. She's going to charge $2,000, and she's going to paint the green screen over the weekend. Oh, now you need it white. Okay, bring in the girl, $2,000, and over the weekend she'll paint it again. And it used to be, now you just go click. Now we have another screen. And the other thing that I thought was really cool was this focus stuff. A couple years ago, I was working on an ABC show called Meet the Fosters. I guess that was quite a few years ago now. It's like 10 years ago. And we were on the set over here at Warner Brothers. And I was so used to the days where the first AD would grab his tape measure and roll it out to the subject, and they go, it's 10 feet, and they go back and set their focus wheel. And now they have this infrared laser system that the focus puller, he just looks at this little monitor, and he's got these two little lines. And wherever those lines meet is the distance, right? So if I'm like shooting your face, I make these two lines meet on the middle of your face, and I know that that's the exact distance and I know it's focused on your face. And of course, those two little red lines don't show up because they're infrared. But imagine, like nowadays, the first AD, the focus puller guy, he can sit there and watch it, and he just sits there and does it organically and dials it in. Whereas in the old days, it would be like he would hit marks, right? Or part one, and focus on that, and then as they dolly back, now the guy focus puller, he is just changing it, but he's not really aware of what's going on. He's doing it because they've rehearsed it, and it's organic and it's manual, but it's not interactive. And now it's interactive. So I think that's pretty amazing. And in terms of CG stuff, like in the computer filmmaking now, the tools, I know there's a huge concern about AI and everything about AI and stuff now. But if we use AI for the tools that it can be useful for, it can save us a lot of back-breaking work. For instance, in around 2005, 2006, I was working at Disney, and we decided to convert Beauty and the Beast into stereo, which meant taking every frame of that movie into a Photoshop type thing and creating grayscale density masks, or Z masks for it. And every frame would take an average between 20 and 30 minutes, and you go to the next frame and you adjust it. And so in 1 week, you'd maybe get like 2 or 3 shots. Now there's software, I can put that in there, and it extracts that for me immediately, like within 2 seconds. And so now instead of 30 minutes to do 1 frame, I can do a whole shot in 2 seconds. And in most cases, it will be better than what I was doing by hand. And so how does this work for our favor? We can be more creative now. Instead of spending 80% of our time doing the technical stuff and 20% of our time doing the creative stuff on it, now we can do something very quick. We can look at it, and then we can put out a new iteration of it. And so like in 1 day, we can do like maybe 5 or 6 iterations of this shot, whereas before we could get 1 iteration in a week, and we just kind of had to live with that. But now we go, hey, I don't like this edge. Maybe we can fix that edge. And okay, 2 seconds later, that edge is fixed. Hey, how about this? The potential for releasing our creative spirits is much higher now than it ever has been before. But that doesn't mean that we don't know. We need to still know how to use those tools to make those changes. So it's still important to have a really good sound foundation on what you can do manually with an image so that you understand how it's being done with AI down the road and how you can use that to your advantage. So.
And then on the flip side, how is filmmaking worse than 20 or 30 years ago?
I feel that, I mean, just personally for me, I found it very sad that the industry has left the Los Angeles area. And I mean, that's just a personal thing. I don't know that doesn't necessarily make filmmaking worse. What I did see is I saw like, there are things like people went up and Vancouver has a big thriving film community. And at first they didn't have a lot of experience, but now, they've been up there for years and years. So they have a very, very experienced base up there, working up there, and their product and their content looks very professional now. And the same with all the other places. And so there's definitely a different attitude on set nowadays than there was back in the 80s. It's more, I feel like it's more serious now, and they take themselves a little too seriously. Whereas like, back in the days when we were filming movies like Ghostbusters or Tremors or even Jurassic Park, we were having fun making those movies. And a lot of times I'll go to a movie set and I don't see people having fun anymore. I see them like very serious about their craft. And sometimes I feel like that seriousness, okay, if you're making a very serious movie, sure, and that bleeds through. But if you're making a comedy and everybody's super serious, how is that going to land? So it's an interesting question.
And do you think that's just film sets in general, or there's seriousness of the world has changed? So I know it's a bigger
I
topic
think it's done it's across the world, and of course we've all become, in the last few years, we've all become very, very aware of things like cancel culture, and we've had to become more sensitive of that. And fortunately, on the good side, diversity is in the news, and we are getting better diversity than we have before. I feel that we are, especially in the film business, and I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but I feel that there's a lot of in the CG world, in the visual effects end of the business, there's just a lot of the mindset from it seems like a lot of the mindset has gone to like CG people and visual effects. All you need to do is push this button and your building will explode, and now you can go comp it and stuff like that. And that's, they're not aware of the actual work that goes in to making that footage, and so there's a bit of a gap between the knowledge bases. And I find it really interesting when like our filmmaking students, they will come to my visual effects students and they'll say, hey, we want to do this, and my visual effects students like, well, we need to go to set and we need to make sure this is set like that and this is set like this, and they go, oh yeah, we never thought of that. But that's important, and now we're starting to see the collaboration here at the younger ages, whereas I feel that that's lacking in some of the professional sets now. There's some division between one group doesn't necessarily know what the other group is doing, and if they were to collaborate together, everybody would benefit from that. So.
Sure. So is there a way we can become lighter on set, or it really depends on who's at the helm? Because certain sets.
There is, yeah. I mean, there is at the helm. I mean, obviously, being on a James Cameron set is different than being on a Ron Howard set. But I feel that they're both of them are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. But the thing is that. Like for instance, when you go to work for James Cameron, he's made his movie in his head. It's this visual masterpiece, and when James Cameron explains something to you, he leaves no doubt in your mind. Like if he says, okay, I need a Terminator robot, he needs to be 6'2", he needs to look like Arnold on this side, and he needs to have these chrome here. He explains, and he even gives you drawings, And then there is no mystery left for you. You go and you go like, okay, I'm going to go build this robot. What's the eye look like? Oh, okay, I'll make the eye look like this. What is, oh yeah, I'll do this. There are some movies, and I won't name the directors. You'll go in and they say, make the monster blue. And okay, make a monster blue. And then they go, I guess I don't like a blue monster. Let's make them green now. And they don't have a vision that they go in with, and that's why it's when you're working with people like James Cameron who do have that vision, there's no mystery to be solved. You go in and like, what do you want to do, Jim? And he'll tell you, and you go and you do it. On the other hand, when you work with people like Ron Howard, it's a lot like the attitude on set is so important to him that everybody's in a good, even light mood. Like for instance, we were shooting this movie called Apollo 13, and we were out at Cape Canaveral, and we needed to shoot these shots of the Saturn V Apollo vehicle mover moving the Saturn V, which we were going to put in CG wise or with a model. But the fog was down to like 2 feet above the ground for like 4 days, and we couldn't shoot because there was nothing. We couldn't shoot because of the fog. And Ron Howard, he's just like, no, everybody, let's just relax. It's okay. And I'm like, how come you're so easy going about this thing? It's like, oh, I planned this. I have 4 days to get this shot because I knew something like this might happen. Let's just take it easy, and then when it happens, it'll happen, and we'll shoot a good movie. And it's like, wow. I know other directors who'd be like freaking out at a moment like that. Jim Cameron wouldn't be. He'd be on a phone call with God, change this. But
It helps to have them on speed dial. Yeah.
But yeah, that was so when you're working with good directors like that, it certainly makes a big difference. And they come from all aspects. It doesn't matter. Like this one director, I didn't think I didn't know what to think about him because his only movie he had done before I worked with him was this stop motion live action movie called Mouse and a Motorcycle, which was a fun movie. I loved it, but I didn't know what it'd be like to work with Ron Underwood on another movie. And so we did Tremors, and he was amazing. It was really fun working with this basically kind of a first-time director. And then he went on and did City Slickers after that, and that was quite the little masterpiece. But it's fun doing stuff like that. So.